Good morning, everyone. Watching, listening, and observing the words and actions of President Donald Trump and his closest advisors these days, I'm reminded of this last sentence of George Orwell's immortal book, Animal Farm. In this book's last paragraph, George Orwell describes how the distinction between man and pig had disappeared. And I quote, "The creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again, but already it was impossible to say which was which." End of quote. It is now hard to tell whether Trump is the head of state of a serious democratic country and the world's third largest population, as well as an economic, financial, and a military superpower, or is it Libya's Muammar Gaddafi or Uganda's Idi Amin? For those who are old enough to remember the last two I mentioned, they need no introduction. The others may Google those names and see for themselves. In this atmosphere, most world leaders, and not just small countries, but also major European powers, have been trying to keep Trump on their side by by flattering him and even using words like daddy. A few men, however, stand out as preserving their dignity and the sovereignty of their countries. If I were a Canadian, I would be proud of Prime Minister Mark Carney. He stood up and at Davos, a meeting which the world was watching, he came close to calling the emperor naked. To an extent, also Macron called a spade a spade. Zelensky was blunt on his in his remarks about Europe's timidity. He was, of course, referring directly to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but also to Europe's attitude in general. Deprecating timidity and fawning before Trump, Carney of Canada said, "There's a strong tendency for countries to go along to get along, to accommodate, to avoid trouble, to hope that a compliance will buy safety. It won't." It's small wonder then that Canada has been disinvited from the Board of Peace, which Trump established, and to which I'll come back in a moment. He also slapped a 100% tariff on Canada, although under a different pretext. But the connection was too obvious to be missed between Carney's speech and the 100% tariff. Now let's look at the Board of Peace and its 35 members who are conspicuous by their absence. It's all the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council except the United States, which means in Western countries like France and UK, as well as China and Russia. Of the 7 countries of the G7, 5 are out, and the only one in is the founder, which is the United States. Many countries declined Trump's invitation to join. Of the countries which chose to join, there are the inconsequential ones like Hungary, Kosovo, Armenia, Belarus, Albania. Then there were the poor and rich Arab countries. Then, of course, Pakistan and Indonesia. The rich Arab countries like the UAE and the Saudi Kingdom, they are in because they are trying to curry the favor with Trump, with business and defense needs in mind. And the poorer ones, of course, like say Egypt or Jordan, they don't have a choice because they depend on American financial support for their survival, as also America's goodwill for their defense. Pakistan and Indonesia are trying to curry favor with Trump for their own reasons, which there's no need to describe here. Two heads of state who are on the ICC's arrest warrant, Putin of Russia and Netanyahu of Israel, had been invited by Trump, but they are too embarrassed to join, so they have been ambivalent about the board. Trump hosted a very ostentatious signing ceremony for the board in Davos in Switzerland, and in his closing remarks, Trump reflected his own experience in real estate, essentially revealing himself as more a real estate person than the president of the world's only superpower. He described Gaza as, and I quote, "this beautiful piece of property," and suggested his push for peace between Israel and Hamas, again I quote, "all began with the location," which is the location of Gaza. The board is ostensibly for Gaza, but the charter does not even mention Gaza. Trump, himself a twice impeached president from his first term and a convicted felon as well in the United States, is the board's lifelong chairperson, and the only one with a veto power in the board. I have no doubt in saying that the board will disappear the minute Trump leaves or is thrown out of the White House, no matter that he has appointed himself as its lifelong chairman. During its short life, the board will be dormant and dysfunctional, as most members have joined only to curry favor with Trump. Trump openly said that he will take Greenland no matter what, the easy way or the hard way. He sounded quite unhinged and senile when he was saying this, but in Davos he mentioned, or rather he referred to Greenland 4 times, not as Greenland but as Iceland. Since that Davos show, Trump has insulted NATO troops, those other than the American troops, by saying that they were never at the forefront of the battles, but they chose to stay behind. It's easy to see for a long time now that a man like Trump would not be regarded as fit for public office in the United States or any Western country. Morally and intellectually unfit for public office he was before, and now politically he seems totally incapable of holding on to his presidential office of the United States. I did not really think ever that I would live to see the day when a man like Trump would be the president of the United States. I've lived there for nearly 5 years. I have studied there, I have taught there, and it's a beautiful country with a great people. But what a shame that it's now led by Trump and his associates. In defense of the United States, I always said that though the United States is guilty of many acts of omission and commission, especially aggression against third world countries, I asked anyone who cared to listen to wonder what any other country would do if it had the same financial, economic, or military power as the United States does. Now, Trump has shown what it would do. Trump is doing precisely what I feared other countries would do if they had the same kind of power, financial, economic, and military. And natural resources used to be assets for countries that possess them, especially those who are not big enough to stand up to the United States. Now under Trump's new world order, there will be countries with natural resources and riches, or rather now under Trump's new world order, riches and resources for rich countries will be a curse, because obviously if Trump covets them, he will want to have them, as he has shown in Venezuela, he has spoken about in Greenland, Canada, Panama, and the list is long. So apparently now under the new world order of Trump, anywhere a country has resources, anywhere there are resources, the United States feels entitled to take possession and take control. The speed with which Trump is sowing chaos domestically and externally, going by in conspiracy theories, I'm beginning to wonder if he is not an agent of Putin or of the Chinese government. I say this in jest, of course, because I recall that when the Soviet Union disintegrated in 1991 under Gorbachev, who had instituted the policy of perestroika and glasnost, openness and restructuring in order to save the Soviet Union, which had the opposite effect, of course, but not because of it. It probably expedited the dissolution of the Soviet Union, which was an anomaly in any case, and was, I think, crashing under its own weight. But a lot of people used to say in conspiracy theories, I must add, that Gorbachev was an American agent, a CIA agent. So now I wonder if they will say that Trump is a Russian agent, I mean a Putin's agent or a Chinese agent. But I still have hope for America. America has strong institutions, a very powerful civic society, and it is already becoming obvious that they are standing up to Trump. And it is wonderful to see white Americans of Minnesota, of Minneapolis, coming out on the streets in freezing temperature in support of their Somali and Latino neighbors. I should mention here that the ICE raids in Minnesota, especially in Minneapolis, is targeting Somali immigrants, and throughout the United States, of course, targeting Latino immigrants. And in defense of them, it is white Americans who are not only coming out, but laying down their lives. I should mention here two names. The woman with the last name of, I think, Good, and Pretty. A man and a woman, white American citizens, who came out on the streets, protested against the ICE agents' rough tactics, and they were killed by them. So this kind of showing by white Americans gives me hope, and I'm sure it gives hope to the non-white people in the United States that everything is not lost for them. I think that's enough for today, and thank you very much.